All right, y'all. Welcome to video number 56. Back again with another terrible video. This is take two. I'm gonna give this another shot. It was too lengthy. Um, Last couple of videos have been me reading chapter 1 of the mythology that supports the metaphysics of Gnostic Vedanta. But I want to switch gears a little bit. I've been actually been rewriting chapter 1 because I've watched the videos and me reading it, and it's kind of part of the reason why I make these is because I really don't. This is a work in progress. I'm not one of these folks that I don't have any answers. I'm trying to figure it out. But this concept and that image there of the light cone, this really, really is Gnostic Vedanta. Now, I don't understand the mathematics or the physics of any of this, but it maps exactly onto everything I've been saying. So I'm like, you know what? This is a great opportunity to, show how Gnostic Vedanta does match physics. Now, mine comes from a meaning perspective because, I'm trying to explain the world in which we live in, describing it phenomenologically, however you say that. Trying to do that. These folks have been working on this for a long time. I'm sure their math's pretty solid. So let's go ahead and jump into it real quick and see if I can make this connection a little bit stronger for myself by going through this process. And maybe it'll ring something with you and you'll be like, hey, actually, I think I'm starting to understand this a little bit. So, I was on Substack and I came across this image and I decided to look into it just briefly. And here we go. Past and future light cones and special relativity are fundamental structures in space-time that define the limits of causal influence around any given event. So we're going to jump a little bit here and say inside the future cone, events that can be influenced by observer. Inside the past cone, events that could have been influenced by observer. Outside both cones or elsewhere, events that are space-like, separated from the observer. These cannot be causally connected to the observer. No signal, information, or influence can travel between them without exceeding the speed of light. So, you're traveling through space and time. There are things within our reach that we can have a cause and effect impact on. And then as we engage with these, you see it'll narrow. You can only reach so far, so fast. And as we speed up through time, at present, it is always just this tiny little bit. So let's take a look at it. Here we are, this Wikipedia. Yeah, it's Wikipedia. Observer, so tiny little spot, the present. Now, way out here, maybe if we had the right technology, we could travel, to Mars or whatever and be there. So it's like Mars way out here. It's kind of not really. We're probably more just going to travel along this line. As humans, especially if you're going to stay walking or whatever in your whole entire life and only engage within things that you can physically get to. But if you travel at the speed of light, this is the potential that you can reach. And again, as time gets closer and closer, you can only get so far. In the moment, you can only engage with what's presently here. So, same thing with the past. Behind you, very limited amount that you could have done, even though it's only the center line that you did do. I assume it's the center line that you did do, and the rest of it is what could have been within your reach, should you have traveled up to the speed of light, etc. So, let's translate this into Gnostic Vedanta. The future light cone is potential. This is the field of potential before us. These are things that we can engage with. The past light cone is experience. These are things that we did engage with or did not. with that experience. So in Gnostic Vedanta, we believe there's a toroidal field, and upon the ether, this is the ether. This is a great representation of ether as fabric. These north-south are the warp. The warp is the potential coming in, we engage, we are traveling on the weft. Entities are on the weft, and we are also part of the field. We are part of the ether because we live within a hologram. None of this is solid. None of this is real. This is all electromagnetism. All of it. Everything's electromagnetic. But potential flows in on the warp and returns as experience. Back to the cone here, and we are the observer. So, future, potential, past experience. And what happens is this experience returns to source and generates the next set of parameters that are possible. It's the circle. So if you turn that way, your future cone is aimed that way. This thing will turn whichever way you go. You're traveling within it, but it's the center line will move as you move. We don't move in a straight line. That's why you have this, what do they call it, the hyper source of the present. That's where we can change direction and re-aim this light cone. Now, of course, you have to say within, whatever. We're not going to get into that. So it's potential, observer. One of the fundamental things that I say Gnostic Vedanta says is the currency of our reality is our attention. That's the observer effect. The potential, when it engages with the observer, or as it says, how does it refer to it? Have causal influence. That's attention. We engage with it via our attention, creating a circuit with source. It returns to source, cause and effect. Exactly the same thing, just said differently. So what Einstein was talking about with this is exactly what I'm talking about, but from just two different angles, even though one is mathematical and the other one is, well, verbal, is meaning. Because you can't engage with a cone, a future light cone. You can't engage with that. But you can engage with the potential of your day. You know, so like, hey, this is what's going on in my life. Potential. These are my options. You know, you have this cone of possibilities. You select something with your attention, and this creates the past. Now, this also is how evolution truly works. Evolution is not biological. It's not chemical. It's not genetic. It is experiential. You know, it's like they always talk about like the hard, you know, the problem with the fine-tuning problem of the universe. Everything's fine-tuned to support life. No, it's as we've made choices since the very, very beginning of this universe. Every choice has been made through cause and effect by attention. So everything, of course, is perfect because it's been chosen. It's not happenstance. It's created. That's why in the Bible they'll call us co-creators. We co-create this space via our attention. And two other things. We use our intuition as our ability to reach within this light cone, to reach into the future, to reach into the things that are not known, even reach into the past. You can reach into these things through intuition. And then you have your imagination. Your imagination is the ability to take the things that are known already within the space and create something new with them. It's in the light cone. This is, and then through the use of our attention, this is how we generate the universe. That's why it's perfectly calibrated. It's also the reason why it becomes, well, cyclical. Because there is a pendulum nature to this thing, because it has to be balanced. But that's a different story for now. So the ether, the warp and the weft. is exactly what this image is stating. We have this time dilation. And this is, I haven't really been thinking about this. I just saw it and go, wow, it's another version of my model. The part that I've been thinking about is the time dilation. And look at this picture real quick that we all know. This image right here. As we speed up, time and space compress. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to show that, so I'm just going to leave it that long. Time and space compress at the speed of light. You will hear folks talk about like a light photon leaves a light wave leaves a sun, 20,000 light years from here. And then when it reaches your eye, when it is observed, because it leaves just as a cone of potential, but once it's observed, it immediately goes all the way back to the beginning and changes into a photon. That's what they say. This is a very bad description of what they call quantum entanglement. It is exactly what I call the tether to source. We are all tethered to source. Source exists at the speed of light. It's strange. You have all these, religions and beliefs and whatnot, and they all believe that like they create this image of like heaven or God or source or whatever. It's this tranquil, peaceful, undisturbed, just like pool, pure serenity. But it isn't. It's liquid light. It's immense. It's all information. It's all power condensed in this tiny space. No space outside of space and time. It doesn't exist within space and time, which is crazy to think about. But for whatever reason, the word we use is emanation. This universe emanated from source. And what it is the opposite of this picture, the picture of speeding up where things condense. We live in a space where things slow down and spread out. This slowing down is what allows experience. That's why I call it the field of experience. The field of experience only exists if you are traveling less than light speed, or as we are, not traveling at all. You sit very still and observe, and time slows down. Space becomes massive. This allows for definition, experience, boundary, meaning, all sorts of things. And that's an amazing idea to think about. That is this phase shifting, this freezing of light into a not hardened, but it feels hard to us, but it's just electromagnetic. But because it's crystallized, it's phase shifted to a form where it can be experienced. It can be touched, even though you don't touch it, but it allows for the experience of touch. When you touch your own self, you're not touching yourself, you're touching the two, the electromagnetic fields of the molecules that are you. They never really touch, but you can feel, them pushing, they're pushing against you, and you can feel that. But that only happens because they're frozen. They've been slowed down. They phase shifted into this reality, this universe. Because outside of this, it's back to the compressed liquid light speed, no space, no time, no meaning, no experience. It spills out for experience. This is who we are and where we are. We are in this place for the experience, for meaning. And modern physics basically says that mathematically. They're trying to explain how it works. But what it really means and what for us in our lives is, if it wasn't for this slowing down, this expansion of space and time, this cone of future potential and this past experience cone, wasn't for that, there'd be no meaning. And I think that I beat that horse right there. So where are we at? 16 minutes, minus a minute or two messing around in the beginning. All right, I think we're going to cut it off there. So what do we say with this new, everyone always says you're going to be creating a theory of everything, which is, whatever. If you're trying to understand the universe, of course, you're going to have a theory of everything. You're trying to understand everything. But this does explain everything. It explains why the universe is perfectly calibrated. It explains potential and experience. It explains the power of your attention and imagination and creation and intuition. All these things are explained. The fact that we have experience is explained because if we were traveling again at the speed of light, there'd be nothing. It's just crazy to think about. So with that, my friends, I will see you on the next one.